Welcome back, and joining us now is Tony Arterburn. It's always great having Tony on, and of course he has Wise Wolf Gold, and he's also set up DavidKnight.Gold, which will take you to Wise Wolf, and we really do appreciate Tony's support of this program. And it's always great to talk to Tony about what's happening with the economy. There's a lot that is happening with the economy now, as we all know. What's on your radar there, Tony? In terms,
as I was saying off air, I not without comedy here in this dystopia. I was looking at an article that came out that Janet Yellen was interviewed. And of course, she was head of the Federal Reserve, that she was the treasurer of the United States. Mm-hmm. And she came out and said, if you if you create currency to service debt, you also create inflation. And then she went on to say that we're turning into a banana republic. So I thought that was interesting. Someone who actually pushed us over the cliff was saying that we're going to fall. So, yeah, I think that's where we are right now. And I think Gore Vidal called us years and years ago. We were a banana republic with nuclear weapons, unfortunately.
Can you imagine what he'd say about ICE and the Iran war now? But, speaking of Janet Yellen, of course, one of the key things that she was doing was running the printers, the printing presses, and creating more money. And they quietly have started doing that again. Let me just play this real quickly.
Inflation is back, with the Fed admitting money growth doubled in February. Note that is before the war and the spike in oil prices. Will we look back with nostalgia upon Bidenflation? Last week, the Fed announced February money growth doubled to $198 billion, up from just $82 in January. That's precisely double the $93 billion monthly run since Trump took office.
Isn't that interesting? I don't know if you heard that or not, Tony, but he was saying that the money growth doubled from January to February. They've turned on the printing presses again, and we all know what that means. You have a lot of economists, a lot of the Austrian schools say, well, inflation is only about the money supply. Well, that certainly is a big part of it. But we've also added now the obvious inflation that is going to be there once you cut off the supply of energy. That's a value-added tax that raises the price of everything. And again, when you make something scarce, supply and demand is going to raise the price. So that's where we are right now. They've turned on the printing presses even before this Iran war happened. And with the Iran war, we're going to get a major amount of price inflation as well.
Yeah, that's the hidden tax in everything. And, economists are wrong about so much. I mean, obviously, but they're not pricing in currency expansion. I've used a metric for years. I'm sure it's wrong now, but it was like, I think since 1980, there's 56 times more currency on Earth today than there was then. I woke up this morning and I actually did a little bit of research because it just came to my mind. This is the subject that I was thinking about, was the currency expansion versus GDP. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the world economy, David, it's about 126 trillion if you talk about like companies and assets and things like that, supposedly. But if you go and you search further, like what is the actual valuation? If you add in the currency, it's 800 trillion. So there's that much currency and wealth funds as opposed to what actual businesses are. So then I went and looked at the metrics of gold as a share of the world's economy in 1979 versus now. And it was like 20% of the share of the world economy in 1979. Now it's 3%. So you've got all of this new currency creation, which is supposed value, but we know it's really not. It's just it's an extension of central banks. It's an extension of the fiat system, which is a psychological valuation, but not real value. And that's the house of cards. So as soon as you add something, that's like gas on a fire too. If you have currency expansion plus the rise in the price of energy, or if you cut off the supply chain, then you have rising prices with currency expansion, that's a recipe for absolute disaster. So I don't think, and that's a surefire way to even cut off the sequence of events that usually happens when you have an economic downturn is you have the price of energy will come down because there's less usage. The price that we saw that in the 2008, 2009 great financial crisis. So oil came down to like $40 a barrel. I don't think that'll happen now. So we'll have inflation with rising energy prices, which
Well, the problem with this is because
impression.
this blockage has been so major. This is worse than the OPEC oil embargo considerably, because what they're seeing is demand is going down for oil. People are already starting to cut it off because it's getting expensive, and they think this is going to happen over a very long period of time. So people are starting to, cut down consumption, and yet it's still going up significantly because the price is still rising, even though demand is falling, because this blockage is so bad. And we got a GOP senator, Roger Marshall, who says the Iran war is worth higher gas prices. He said, your national security is even more important than your pocketbook. Again, it doesn't, whether it's, FISA, your rights are not important. The military's objectives are, and they say they can't win this without being able to spy on everybody without a warrant. And same thing with this, national security. What is national security? Is the economy not something that is a part of national security? Wasn't the thing that helped us to win wars having a vital economy? If we're going to strangle the economy, we're not going to be able to win wars. And if we're going to strangle our rights, there isn't any point in us winning the wars, is there?
What is that for that scene from Shrek with Lord Farquaad when he comes out and says, "Some of you may die"?
That's right.
That's a risk I'm willing to take. It's the national security state, David. I mean, since 1947, you had that document NSC 68. They created the CIA, the NSA, the Air Force, all this, all the national security apparatus was 1947 and onward. And since then, they preserved themselves. It has nothing to do with the nation. It has nothing to do with our liberty or our security or our prosperity. It's secondary to that. And that's the same. Does anybody think that the prosperity of the United States is the goal of our central bank overlords of the Federal Reserve? That's Absolutely not. They're self-serving. The national security state serves itself, even at the detriment of the American people. That's for sure.
Was that group of things there? Was that where Truman created the NSA in his executive order? I know he did it. Okay, yeah. There you go. So the guy that gave us the idea that we're going to become policemen of the world laid all the foundation of the police state at home. This is what we were warned about. The instruments, the means of defense abroad will become instruments of tyranny at home, and that's what the national security state is. It's an instrument of tyranny at home. And now they're openly saying it. And they're not getting any pushback. That's the amazing thing on this. So yeah, it's worth it. If we crash the economy, if we destroy individual liberty and the rule of law, it's all going to be done for the national security state, which is really nothing other than a continuity of government for the Machiavellian industrial complex.
Yeah, it's long since abandoned whatever it ever had a mission of protecting the American people. It's completely self-serving at this point. The wars we fight are not for the American people or prosperity. Clearly, we're not doing well. And, if you back out all of the funds that were printed, we're in a real economic crisis right now. And we will be headed into one. It's going to be far worse that we didn't do the corrections, that we overspent and, that built things that shouldn't have been built. We funded things that shouldn't have been funded. And that's going to might be a generational downturn here, and whenever this does when the bottom finally drops out of this, which I don't wish for, but I don't see any other way around it at this point.
That's right. I don't either. As a matter of fact, I love this headline from Brian Shohavi at Health Impact News. He said, the entire world is watching an insane president destroying the global financial economy. This is what Roger Marshall, when he reduces all this, well, it's just about higher prices at the gas pump. What a myopic tunnel vision of what is really happening here. It truly is amazing. And I've seen some people who are trying to make excuses for Trump and saying, well, this is really 4D chess because he's going to have the global oil supply cornered here. Well, as we were talking off air, the Chevron executive says, well, your prices are going to go up. There's a global shortage on this stuff. This is how the marketplace works. I mean, if somebody is desperate in Asia, they can't get any oil or gas at all, they're going to bid the price up. And guess what? Chevron's going to sell it to them at a higher price. And you're going to pay more money here domestically. It doesn't matter that we've got American oil that is being pulled out of the ground. It's going to be sold somewhere else, and the price is still going to go up if we've taken a 20% hit to the world's oil supply. And that's the thing these guys don't understand. This is indicative of the insanity of Trump's tariff program from the very beginning. The idea that we got to have made in America on everything, and that just doesn't work when you cut off the supplies that you need to make things in America. Whether you're cutting off the supply of aluminum, or whether you're cutting off the supply of semiconductors, or you're cutting off the supply of energy. How are you going to make stuff in America without these vital things? This is what Trump and his clowns don't understand.
Well, maybe they do. I mean, you don't reset the supply chain with extortion.
Yeah,
it's right. Not a good start. And you realize too that I was just listening to an interview with Jim Rickards, and he said, "Look, the first wave, the impact on the energy market in Asia starts about 2 days from now." Because those ships that left the Strait of Hormuz, it takes about 6 weeks to get to South. So all that, the ships that aren't coming now, and they've offloaded it. You're talking about all that crude oil that supplies so much of the world. And you go back to the 90s, we outsourced everything, Dave. That's part of the free trade, the god that these so-called conservatives worship, and they worship this free trade. Everything's got to be free trade, and we got to get rid of barriers and tariffs. And look, we've seen the clown show that is tariffs now, so we can't really make that argument anymore, I guess, and with rationality. But
and you can't just turn off. You can't just abruptly do a U-turn. It's like you're going down the highway at 100 miles an hour, and you decide you're going to do some kind of a Rockford turn.
And this has been going on for decades. We outsourced everything. Who was that senator from the 90s? Says it doesn't matter whether you make computer chips or potato chips. Well, you can buy them from anywhere. Well, the problem is that it takes like 12 different countries to make a Patriot missiles. And this is going back to the 90s.
Yeah.
It probably takes more now, but all of those intricate supply chains get disrupted. And especially when you have rising costs of energy and all over, especially in Asia and other places that make so much. We've not even begun to feel the impact of the stupidity of all of this, which seems to me, self-inflicted on purpose, just to create the chaos. And if you get the 4D chess people, which is ridiculous that we're going to somehow take over the world's oil game, like we're going to start supplying that, and maybe we will supply a little. But what use is that when 30% or 40% of the world's economy goes into a massive slump and prices rise and there's broken supply lines? I mean, that's just chaos. That's not the art of the deal, or whatever that's supposed to be.
You're absolutely right. And you started talking about military stuff and how the supply chain for the Patriot missiles is distributed over several different countries. Even when you look at stuff like rare earth materials, right, minerals, and that is something that we have access to in the U.S. But guess what? That infrastructure has to be built. I mean, I've interviewed a guy that has a company that's all that they do. But as he's saying, it's going to take us 5 years to get this stuff together. He said, we can do it, but it takes a while for us to put it together. It's all impulsive. It's all rash, and they don't think about anything. Nothing is planned. It's just like I was saying before, you're driving down the road at 100 miles an hour. You decide you got to go the other direction. You just pull up the handbrake and start spinning it around, but it's going to keep spinning. And you're going to go spinning right off the road. And that's what Trump is doing. He's like, well, it's just, we're steaming down the road here. And we've got all the manufacturing is distributed all over the world. But now we're just going to say, as of tomorrow, we're only going to make things in America. And it just doesn't work that way. You just cut off your supplies for being able to make anything.
Well, it's a heck of a way to get to the end game of the Great Reset or Agenda 2030. It's a heck of a way to get there. I mean, if you wanted to, we've talked about this the last couple of times I've been on it. If you wanted to create a global energy crisis, if you reverse engineered the perfect plan, well, this is pretty much it. You just choke off that one point. You make it diplomatically impossible to restart. You just do enough damage. And then, the wounds also are greatly self-inflicted. I don't know what the end goal here for the dollar is, but it's not looking great, especially the petrodollar. I mean, just in a fail swoop with Iran charging tolls for the Strait of Hormuz in Bitcoin, which didn't get as much news as I thought it should have. I mean, that is a massive move. And yes, they have to be the crude's purchased in Chinese Yuan, and then the toll is paid in Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you gotta do this transaction. You got just a little bit of time to do the handshaking there to get that paid in Bitcoin. Or you get blown out of the water. So yeah, that's absolutely right. And yet, Tony, I saw. I'm looking for it here. I can't find it. It was an article. I think it's from the Wall Street Journal, and I wanted to find it because I wanted to get the woman's name. I hadn't seen it before, but she's saying, is this the end of the petrodollar? No, this is going to strengthen the petrodollar. And it's like, what? What are you talking about? And so I had to read that article and saw that headline. But her whole premise is that this is going to be, it is and is going to continue to be a massive victory in Iran. And it's like, well, okay, your fundamental premise is wrong on all this.
That's not delusional. I've heard several of these national security types floating around. I don't know. They have groupthink for sure. Mm-hmm. And it's just like that senator saying, well, this is the price you pay for, a dismantling a nuclear armed Iran or something. I don't know that doesn't register to me. When I wake up in the morning, I don't think, I just got to keep Iran from getting the bomb. Like that never occurs to me that that's something important. You're talking about an 80-plus-year-old technology. No, I don't think I'm going to waste blood and treasure trying to keep somebody from creating an 80-plus-year-old technology or recreating that. We're in 2026.
Well, they just killed the leader who had declared it to be a fatwa against it, right? That's the first guy they killed, was the guy that was going to, that said, this is not compatible with my version of Islam. And he's over the Shia Muslims, which is not nearly as big as the Sunni Muslims, but he was saying no bomb for us. And so they killed that guy. Now the people replacing him don't have that concern.
No, you went down the ladder. It gets more radical as you go down.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
It's just like what we did in Iraq in real time. We'll get rid of Saddam. So now you don't have that monster. You have 10,000 monsters that you also funded. And, the entire country goes into chaos. An entire civilization is dismantled because of those type of thoughts. That's a very neocon view of the world, very Trotskyite revolutionary view of the world.
That's right.
What was the quote about neocons? They're often clever, never wise. That's something that they continue to do that. I remember just coming back from Iraq. It was like 2004 or 5, and I remember just thinking to myself about Iran. I was like, they really just want a saber rattle to get the price of crude up. And I watched that over and over again while Netanyahu would every couple of years he'd visit the U.S. and say that they're 2 weeks away from getting the bomb. I watched this over and over again. Yeah. And I just thought, I think at the end of the day, they like to just saber rattle a little bit, kind of leave you guessing, get the price of crude to jump, and then they would offload that. That's the way I looked at it. Mm-hmm. Of course, we said, hold my beer, and we went in and said, we'll make the price we'll double it. We'll not just get a 10 or 20% margin. We're going to go ahead and double this. And I don't think that it's anywhere near the top end of what's the consequences here, David, on the price of crude.
That's right. Well, I guess when we talk about the price of crude and you talk about the price of our politicians, Miriam Adelson, these other billionaires who are buying up Congress and buying up the Republicans, she just dropped in another $20 million in the Republican coffers. So it's still happening. But we've got a Swiss bank that's calling for $6,000 gold by the end of the year. This is Union Bancaire Privée, I guess a UBP. It's a Swiss bank. Mm-hmm. And, they talk about the sell-off. But, and we've had a lot of articles about people saying, well, gold just didn't go up the way we thought it was going to go up during a crisis. And yet the reality is, and I think we talked about this. I know I talked about it. I think it was with you. What was really happening was gold was doing what it was supposed to do, providing liquidity for people who had invested in it. And now they've got, they're seeing the stock market go down, or they're worried because they can't cover their bills in the Middle East because they've lost their source of income. So what they're doing is they're selling gold into that. And of course, we also had the big dump and pump that happened with the French central bank. They wanted to get their gold out of the U.S., and who knows, maybe the U.S. doesn't have their gold. So they said, oh, okay, well, then just give us the money for the gold if you've already sold it. And so they took the money, and then they bought gold in Europe. That's the way they transferred it without having to put it on a boat or a plane and ship it. They just sold it in the U.S. and rebought it in Europe. And so that had a bit of a a whiplash in the marketplace. They wound up making, I think, $15 billion off of the exchange because with a massive sell of gold, it dumped things, and then they were able to buy it at a cheaper price. So that's the kind of things we've been seeing as this has happened.
Well, you got to have a little bit of perspective too. I mean, it's 2026. In 2024, gold was half the price that it is now.
That's right.
So, it's 2 years later, folks. And if you look at the crisis that we were already in, factored into the price of gold, and when the war initially kicked off, gold jumped. Mm-hmm. It did what it normally does in a time of uncertainty, geopolitical tension. It does what it does. But this particular crisis has to do with oil. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those funds were liquidated to go into crude because it's just commodity versus commodity. But if you're talking about really factoring in like all the fundamentals, are they're still there, and the terrible ifs, as Winston Churchill said, the terrible ifs accumulate. You talk about all the unknowns; those are being factored into gold. So, I mean, really, just rationally ask yourself if you're, people. I love the headlines that come through this because a lot of it's just like, oh, you think so? Like one of the UBS people was saying that gold is. With geopolitical uncertainty and inflation, gold still looks like a good bet. Well, of course it does. I mean, it's going to be fine given those two things over the next 5 or 10 years. So I don't long term, David, with metals, gold, silver, platinum, these are things that they're precious metals for a reason. They're rare. It takes a lot of energy to get them out of the ground. It takes a lot of, capital. And that's what they represent. They represent work. And, the governments around the world are going to continue, even with the IMF is talking about this, the International Monetary Fund is talking about the sovereign debt that held by different banks, and the bonds are in real trouble, because they hold so much debt. So what they're going to have to do, these banks are going to have to print. Mm-hmm. They're going to create new currency. We just talked about the currency expansion. So what's going to happen to the prices of these commodities? Well, they're going to go up denominated in those currencies. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. So long term, I still think, gold's cheap right now if you really look at where we are in this great reset decade and the acceleration that is happening. So I don't think that we're overpriced. I don't think we're in a bubble when it comes to gold, especially silver. We've already seen what silver hit $120 an ounce, back a few months ago. So I don't think that we're near the top of anything. It's hard to price in the apocalypse. It's hard to really know what the price of anything is anymore, because you don't have true metrics or numbers or to issue in the fraud, to account for the fraud that's everywhere. So I would say I think we're severely underpriced. Again, gold used to be 20% of the world economy. It's about 3% now. Wow. And I would ask you if that makes sense.
Well, the People's Bank of China, the Central Bank of China, agrees with you. They've been jumping in on these lower prices. And of course, there's been a massive inflow into ETFs. I would just caution people about ETFs. I don't trust those. I don't trust the tokenized gold that is out there either. Get physical, not tokenized. And because essentially they're just like the derivatives, the junk stuff that was circulating about real estate when we had the Great Recession that happened with that. But a lot of money going into ETFs, which are coming out of the Shanghai Gold Exchange, and the People's Bank of China is buying into this, what they consider to be a pause before the resumption of this stuff going up, because all the fundamentals are still the same, as you pointed out.
Yeah, that's not going away, especially you have the decline of the dollar and the death of the petrodollar. I mean, the world's resetting on gold, and you can see it. And I've mentioned this many times, but I think this is one of the key indicators of where we're headed is the Hong Kong Gold Exchange, the Shanghai Gold Exchange. Hong Kong, more importantly, so because they're building storage facilities for, like, near the airport for physical gold. So the world will transact more and more, especially long-term with holdings and currencies. They'll be backed by physical gold. I think that's just where we're headed. And it's a relatively new trend. I mean, we're only talking since 2009 when this started to go in the other direction. There was a massive sell-off in the late 70s, 80s when gold peaked, and central banks got out of gold. But after 2009, it's been a massive frenzy of buying, especially since 2022. So we're just really starting to see the next wave of what the world monetary system is, David, and it's not going to be the dollar.
I agree. When we look at this new monetary system, you got a lot of different competing ideas, and it's interesting that every one of these competing monetary systems needs to have gold in order to give itself credibility. So whether you're talking about some of these token coins, stable coin is now talking about connecting up with a digitized gold type of thing. They need that gold, or the idea that they have gold to back it up. Again, these tokenized stable coins that are connected to gold are going to be risky, just like these ETFs are going to be risky. Who audits the fact they've got gold, right? We've seen this whole story before with the Federal Reserve. This is just fractionalizing it into a lot of different players that are out there. But everybody wants to say, yeah, we're solid. We're backed with gold. So it's like, why accept any substitute? Go for the direct
issue of trust.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that trust, that's the entire world economy. Any sort of real trade is based off of trust, and we've lost that. The world is less and less trusting of governments and institutions. But we used to be able to trust companies, David, to say, for all their scamminess and grifting, we used to be able to say, well, what's good for GM is good for America, and vice versa. That used to be the mantra. Let's make a better, cheaper car. Let's make a more affordable unit. And then you get CEOs like we just mentioned briefly, the Chevron executive who was saying, well, I think Americans should drive less. That's like, it's like Colonel Sanders saying, you probably shouldn't eat as much chicken. It's just really bizarre. And that's the way that they just institutional type of thinking, it is true. It's not so much a conspiracy. They just all think alike. It's just a really strange, instead of that guy wondering, well, I wonder how we can have more energy exploration or make things more efficient or whatever. It's just, no, just drive less.
Yeah.
But you're, and
let's
again,
manage everybody into nothing.
Yeah. But he's this executive with Chevron. It's just, that's where we are. And I think you can't even trust the companies to be on your side anymore, as far as like, let's get costs down or let's make this better. I don't think you can really, that's to the small entrepreneur. And I think some of the other economies that are emerging around the world, there's energy there as far as, innovation. I think we're going to see that. It's just not in this country, not as much like we used to. I think it's a mindset.
They've marched through the institutions, whether you're talking about Marxists or whether you're talking about these globalists, they've marched through there because they have made sure that the people who think like them are going to be the ones who are in charge, just like that Chevron executive. And so they want to tell you, well, you're going to have less food, less travel, less clothes, less of a car. You're not going to have a home. You're going to own nothing, and you'll be happier with all this stuff. This is managing us down into nothing. And I've said before, Donald Trump is the Manchurian candidate for these people. He is the one who is accelerating all this stuff. They got to get this done by 2029. Donald Trump, look at how he's accelerating everything and bringing it all together. He began his second administration. We still had not recovered from the damage that was done in 2020, and he led the way. And they were all doing the same thing at the same time. How did that happen? Is that not a conspiracy? Think about it. A conspiracy, the word literally means they're all breathing together, right? Were they not all breathing together when they were telling us that we all had to wear masks so we couldn't breathe? They're all breathing together. They're all conspiring together to do the same thing at exactly the same time. Then we get Donald Trump in again, and what does he do? He starts a global economic war. That's what the sanctions and the tariffs are all about. It's about a global economic war, which is always a prelude to a real war. You start out with the sanctions and other things like that, then you move on to regular warfare. He's doing all these things, checking all the boxes and doing it very rapidly.
The idolatrous nature of the people that put him in office, especially the second time, you kind of get what you put in, you reap what you sow. Right. And I think somebody ought to make a meme, David, of the clown is getting dressed up like the 4 sequences of the clown is more clown makeup. It's like, well, Trump's a Christian, Trump supports Jesus. And then no, Trump's divine. And then Trump is Jesus. It's like you went full MAGA. So don't ever go full MAGA because we've seen the we've seen the consequences of that. It's really unfortunate. But that's where we are, and the disintegration of the narcissistic ego of this guy, coupled with the military industrial complex and the Pete Hegseths of the world. It's not looking good for the good old US of A.
I got a clip, Tony, that I haven't played yet in the show. And Pete Hegseth is leading people in a prayer. And this is a prayer that is word for word straight out of Pulp Fiction. He even makes it up. He goes like from first Seder or whatever, chapter 1, and he starts reading this. And it was straight out of Pulp Fiction.
He did Ezekiel 25:17.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
By the way, which is not, that's made up in the movie.
It really is amazing. Yeah, it is pulpit fiction. That's what his theology is. And it's really crazy. That's where we are right now. But getting back to gold, you've kind of seen things have kind of stabilized a little bit over the last week or so, haven't they?
Yeah, they have stabilized some. Silver has broken 80. I'm really glad for the market volatility not there. I mean, you can have these wild swings, but it causes so much stress down the chain. I think it's better just we inch along. We see the loss in purchasing power of the dollar. You continue to accumulate, get you some gold and silver, especially the physical. I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with ETFs. I don't own any. I want the physical. I don't want the counterparty risk. But you will see prices. I mean, on a long enough timeline, prices will go up against the dollar, but that's not what it's about. You're talking about being outside of the system, which is going to be so very important. I mean, the Iranians with Bitcoin are learning that. And of course, they had I think they were 6 or 7% of the global mining was done in Iran prior to the war in Bitcoin. That might be another reason why we hit them the way we did. I don't know. There's an economic warfare underpinning all of this. So the best thing that you can do is just be outside of it and have something that belongs to you. Those metrics I gave at the beginning of the interview, those are real. Like the world economy, and you can go look this up. It's estimated 126 trillion or whatever it is. But if you add in currencies, it's 800 trillion. So that's how much currencies and bonds and treasuries and things that aren't real are propping up the system. So you got to look to what are actual real commodities that human beings have always used, and what produces something. That you start factoring that in alone, and the world economy shrinks. It goes down. I mean, things that actually make something. And if you extract ideology out of that, and companies that have so much of the global share, well, no wonder we haven't made innovations or anything in the last 50 plus years. No wonder it's so limited because of this groupthink. Yeah. Where, if you're executive of a fuel company, tell people to buy less fuel, that's bizarre. I think that's where we are though. And the best way to hedge against that is to not have counterparty risk and have something that's finite, in my opinion, especially in this reset, which we're in right now.
I agree.
Like it or love it.
I agree. Yeah. When we were looking at the central bank digital currency, and everybody was warning about this, and one of the things they're warning about was getting rid of local banks because, how are you going to have the ability to pay cash if the companies don't have any place where they can go deposit their cash into their account so they can now process it? You got to have local banks that are there. And it also factors into being able to get loans and that type of thing. And so the White House is out there putting out their paper for stable coins because, we've really replaced the central bank digital currency with a crony capitalist digital currency. That's what, in my opinion, people like Lutnick and the Trump brothers are, instead of the Hunt brothers, we've now got the Trump brothers that are out there to mess with things. But, these guys are out there trying to set up a different stablecoin thing. And Eric Trump even has, gone to some of these Gulf state conferences and saying banks are going to be gone in 10 years. And now the bank lobby has finally awakened to this. It's taken them a very long time. They didn't see the danger in CBDC, and they didn't push back against that. And now they're starting to see the handwriting on the wall that they want to push banks out and push this stablecoin thing. And that is, to me, another impetus to make sure that I got physical gold that I don't want to have and silver because I don't want to be locked into this system of stable coins that they're going to impose on us. They're going to be the ones making a lot of money off it. They will put some gold in, perhaps. Who knows if there'll be as much gold as they say there'll be. But they also see this as a way of offloading their worthless treasury bills. And I say worthless because, how many trillions, how can we ever pay back the trillions of dollars that are there? But they can offload these treasury bills to individuals because the central banks are saying, I don't want that stuff anymore.
Well, just look what Tether does.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the public-private partnerships. I mean, they do prop up, start buying the treasuries. That's kind of the whole system of how Tether works. But look what else Tether does. $187 billion market cap, by the way. Mm. That's Tether. Just this coin, this stable coin, which is no accident. And I think they're just getting started. You're talking about, it's like more than half the market cap of gold in 1980. That's what Tether is, just this stable coin now.
Yeah.
But their gold holdings are enormous. And we're not talking ETFs. They have physical gold. Mm-hmm. They're going to be backing up whatever their play is, their strength of their currency, because it's a separate system than the dollar, but it also props up the dollar. I think they're merging those things, in my opinion. I think they're merging them where creating the off ramps, which for the new world economy, that will be how the dollar supposedly saves itself.
Yeah,
it's unclear, and a lot of the planners, so they get things wrong often. I think we ascribe, they definitely are evil. I think we ascribe too much intelligence sometimes. I think we overestimate them as far as what they can actually accomplish. It is messy.
Yeah.
So in this, as far as I'm concerned, and everything that I do and study every day, I'm looking at 5-10 years down the road. Mm-hmm. Are you better off outside of the system or in it? Especially when you don't know what the system is. Or the transition of the dollar to a digital stable coin, public-private partnership. And you're right, it'll be surveillance. It'll be all that stuff. And the banks, it's hard to say that they got caught flat-footed, but it was a dark horse, like the whole stable coin thing, because we always were taught that it's CBDC.
Yeah, that's right.
It's CBD, it's central bank digital currency. And then you had the Fed Now, kind of like Apocalypse Now. You had the Fed Now coin. That was 24 is when it came out. So it was right before, it was July of 24. It was right before the presidential election.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think, was it the same day of the rally in Pennsylvania at Butler? Wasn't that the day that FedCoin launched? Somebody should go look that up. Something's weird with that. But
the Democrats are just like the people in Europe. The central banks there are just in everybody's faces and saying, we're going to do central bank digital currency. And the Democrats wanted to do the same thing as well. They wanted the state to own it because they're going to get their money from the state. The Republicans come in and they give us a crony capitalist version of it. It's going to be quasi-independent, but I don't want to have anything to do with anything that is put together by Larry Lutnick. That just stinks from a mile away. So that's where these guys are going. And, becomes something of a joke when they talk about a stable coin that is a digital currency. It's not a coin, and it's not stable because it's tied to the Federal Reserve notes. And so they've got to put gold in there. That's what I was saying earlier. You've got all these different monetary systems that are out there going to be competing against each other. And every one of them needs to have gold somehow in order to get people's trust and to show people this is something that's real. So that's one of the reasons why the stable coins are collecting gold, because you can't really sell these things as a basket of treasury bills. That kind of has a stench to it, I think, at this point in time.
Just look at the trends. The Chinese used to be the greatest buyers of U.S. treasuries. Now they're the biggest sellers. All these trends that are going to be, treasuries used to dominate, and the dollar even till recently dominated reserve holdings around the world. And now gold supplanted that. It's about trust, and it's about price stability. And you can't control everything about gold. It enters the market and increases the supply about 2% every year. From what's mined and what hits the market, it's about 2%. You can't control that necessarily, but you certainly can't control governments printing. If you're trying to park your funds in something like the U.S. dollar, or you're trying to, and that is the best of the worst right now. The dollar still is where you would go temporarily to hold value and, not have to, it's not like it's the Venezuelan currency or it's Zimbabwe right now. But it's not looking good. And,
Right.
you continue to lose global share and you lose global trust and then you get sanctioned, so the whole point of getting off of that system is in large part from the weaponization of the dollar, but it's also the fact that the dollar is losing purchasing power and will continue to do so, just mathematically.
And that's why this woman's op-ed piece, war is going to strengthen the petrodollar. It's like, the petrodollar ended a couple of years ago when the Saudis said we're going to buy and sell in Chinese Yuan. That was essentially the end of it, and Forbes has pointed that out, that it ended 2 years ago. So it's not that it's going to strengthen it. It doesn't exist anymore. And the other rationale for that was not just the fact that Saudi Arabia was going to buy treasury bills, but the other rationale was that we were going to be the adult in the room. We were going to be the ones who brought peace and prosperity to the Gulf states. Now we have brought war, volatility, and death and destruction and setting the place on fire. So I don't see how in the world, even if the U.S. were to have some kind of a victory, I think it's going to be a Pyrrhic victory for the petrodollar.
No, I agree. And I think, a little late to the party, madam. I mean, you're talking about 2 years ago, we lost the petrodollar. And I thought that was you use that phrase, the dog that didn't bark, Sherlock Holmes, that nobody did anything. I thought that was strange. So I'm not sure this is about the petrodollar or, it maybe has other reasoning to it because we didn't fight to keep that agreement and we certainly didn't keep our promises. And we made, the whole point of that was Saudi, we would protect you. We would be your military arm. You don't have to worry about that. So, denominate oil only in dollars and the rest of, convert it, anytime somebody's buying that, convert it, from dollars into crude. So we just lost that. And I didn't see any pushback or any plans to do anything from our government in 24. So I don't know. I don't know what this is about, but definitely petrodollar has left the building.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about what's happening at Wise Wolf. Of course, things are not as volatile as you've been suffering with over the last several months. So things have stabilized a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what's going on at Wise Wolf.
No, just same, keeping the supply chain going. I think we're doing well. We've got the two shops, Missouri and Texas, that are buying product for our Wolfpack members. And that really is what's driving the supply right now is the two physical locations. And we're happy for that. I mean, it's been an interesting ride, David, the last 90, 120 days.
Oh, yeah.
The volatility, we're still seeing the effects of it, but it's calmed down somewhat. We're helping people right now with IRAs, which I think is a good move. And the difference between, an IRA in the regular world with paper is that it's tied to paper, but the IRA, the gold and silver gives you the protection of the IRA legally, but it's in a third party vault. You're talking, these aren't banks. These are vaults, and they're not in the banking system. So I really like those for people. I like them for myself. And just fundamentals, David. Just, another thing I wanted to tell people about is, we upgraded the Wolfpack website, or we're working on it. And you can go see some of the images that we've redone. But I was going to remind people, we take Bitcoin too. As payment. You can buy one time on Wolfpack, even the smaller stuff with Bitcoin, and we don't charge a fee. So we just take that Bitcoin same as cash. So that's just another thing that we've added. I didn't know if I've mentioned it before, but yeah, Wolfpack's doing well, and just the supply chain keeping it open. I'm trying to do 2 or 3 steps ahead, which is often hard to do when.
Well, hats off to you for being able to navigate through these stormy waters that we've got right now. We may be in the eye of the storm. You may get the backlash as it keeps moving along. Who knows what the future holds with this stuff? But again, I think the Wolfpack thing is such a great idea. It lets people dollar cost average, just gradually save over a period of time, especially when we're looking at something that has strong long-term fundamentals, but there's, the noise and volatility of what's happening politically, militarily is going to be making things jump around quite a bit. So that's a way for the rest of us to be able to average this out. I don't know how you manage it, but it's great that you take some of that risk for us. Appreciate that.
Happy to do it.
We actually do have some questions for Tony as well.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
AP Rumble Seat says, "Hey Tony, good to see you. Isn't this Iran war one step closer to one world governance?"
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to do the controlled demolition of the current system in order to create the new system. It's problem, reaction, solution. And I mean, that's the only thing that really explains it to me. I mean, you can look at all the periphery explanations, or you can get some of these tired, military, industrial, national security people, but they still don't really explain what we're doing. And I think it's probably more along the lines of pushing us into one world government or governance.
I agree. Yeah.
And we have a question here from Guard Goldsmith. Says, "Q for Tony. Any thoughts on how the energy problem will affect precious metals mining companies?"
That's a great question. I hadn't thought about that because it takes so much energy to get the gold and silver out of the ground.
That's right.
I think they'll just price that in.
Yep.
The cost of metals. It'll be priced into the cost of extracting it. So everything becomes more expensive.
It's a value-added tax. Yeah, it's a value-added tax on every single thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it taxes everything, and there's nothing that it really escapes it. So I think that'll be priced in, and the more that prices rise, and Guard knows this better than anybody, the more the prices rise, the more that you have inflation. More inflation, you have loss of purchasing power. The higher the prices of metals go up. Okay, I mean and it's not necessarily the metals going up all the time. It's just the currency losing purchasing power.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
And one last comment, I thought you would enjoy it, Tony. He says, "David, they hate us for our freedoms, so we need to give them up." Unbelievable. And I'm sure that you have some strong feelings about the "they hate us for our freedoms" line, Tony.
Oh, yeah. I love that line. Is they hate us for our freedom. Can we just be friends now? Because we don't have any left. I've always wondered that. Can't we just be, can we be buddies?
Yeah, we're all in the same basket now.
We're all in the same. We're all in this together. Yeah, it's like you're the great Satan. I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. I can't do anything about the Epstein.
It's my
plan.
government. Yeah, it's my government.
We don't like them either.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Tony. It's always great talking to you. And again, Wise Wolf Gold, and you can get there through DavidKnight.Gold. We're going to take a quick break, folks, and we'll be right back. Stay with us. The common man. They created Common Core to dumb down our children. They created Common Pass to track and control us. Their Commons Project to make sure the commoners own nothing. And the communist future. They see the common man as simple, unsophisticated, ordinary. But each of us has worth and dignity created in the image of God. That is what we have in common. That is what they want to take away. Their most powerful weapons are isolation, deception, intimidation. They desire to know everything about us while they hide everything from us. It's time to turn that around and expose what they want to hide. Please share the information and links you'll find at thedavidknightshow.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. If you can't support us financially, please keep us in your prayers. thedavidknightshow.com.